Welcome everybody to the panel EDIH in support of digital skills. Today we have a session that will be divided in three. On the first hand, we will see some facts and figures about the state of art of digital skills. Afterwards, the three speakers here will present some of their initiatives. And finally, we will have a question and answer session. So that's why I ask you to ask in the question and answer box all the questions you may have, and I will make them to the speakers towards the end in order to have a debate. By the way, I'm Marta Portales. I'm from the Mobile World Capital Foundation, and I will be your moderator today. I will be starting with the context and explaining a little bit what the state of art of digital skills is. But first of all, who are our speakers? So we have here Silvia Mericio, Policy Officer of DG Connect, Roberto Prieto, Chief Education Officer of EIT Digital, and Bernhard Schweitzer from SAP. He's the head of strategy and operation SME product management. Okay, so let's start with some figures. So in the last 10 years, the demand of ICT specialists has grown 41%. If we compare it with other employments today, it's only it's more than we were expecting, and other employments were only the growth was only 3%. UK and Germany are the countries that agglutinate or that have the most of digital talent professionals. If we speak about the gaps, I think there are three that are quite interesting that we will be discussing today. One is the gender gap. So there are women that the only women are 1/4 of the total of digital talent among different cities, as we can see here. There's also another gap that we would like to discuss, which is the offer and demand gap. The digital sector is one of the ones that has grown the most, and we need to skill the people in order that they are the workers of the future. And exactly what are those indicators or trainings that need to be offered is one of the challenges that the Digital Europe program is going to focus in the upcoming years. So under I4MS, we had a very interesting I4MS talk about the Digital Europe program, in which some best practices in the areas of skills and trainings were discussed. And here today, also in the conference, this morning it was discussed that one of the challenges is the taxonomy and in the indicators and the assessment of these digital skills. And how are going EDIs to work on this is one of the things that we will be discussing today in this panel. Not to forget, one of the best practices that we know of is the I4MS project that has a training catalog for advanced manufacturing digital skills. I think it's a success case because there are 154 available trainings that focus mainly in the manufacturing sector, but it's very interesting. And 20 countries offer these trainings. You can go to the URL. And another thing that I wanted to share with the audience is that we are creating a task force, a working group on digital skills. And if you want to be selected, we have an open call right now. So share your candidature so that we can explore your CV and see if you are eligible to join us. And with no further delay, Silvia Mericio, the floor is yours. She will present you some of the work that the European Commission has been developing under the Job and Skills Coalition and the new platform for advanced skills they are going to launch soon.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me today. Thank you, Marta, for the introduction. I will try as I have few slides to present. So, as Marta said, I'm a policy officer in DG Connect, and I work in the Digital Economy and Society unit, where our work is to deal with advanced digital skills and digital skills development in general. I see I'm having some troubles in sharing my screen. I hope it will work now. Can you please tell me if everything is okay, Marta?
I think now we can see it. Perfect. No worries. We are on time.
Okay, that's very good. That's very good. Thank you very much. So just to start back from where we left with Marta and speak about the data. So what you see now is the Digital Economy and Society Index. At the Commission, what we do is to monitor the progress of the member state towards different aspects of digitization. This index is published every year, and there is a specific report for each country that tells us how member states are performing in terms of connectivity, human capital, the use of internet services, integration of digital technology, and digital public services. So what we see from this index is that if we focus on the workforce, we see that 1 out of 4 people in the workforce still have low levels of digital skills. This means that for some of the areas, they are not able to reach the basic level of digital skills. It means that some of them, they cannot send emails or so on. Also, when we look at the more advanced side of digital skills, we see that 50% of SMEs and 64% of large enterprises report difficulties in recruiting ICT specialists. So, what is the Commission doing in order to solve this gap? There has been a number during 2020. There has been a number of publication and of Commission documents about bridging the digital skills gap. In particular, the Skills Agenda 2020, its revision of the 2016 Skills Agenda, sets the ambitious target to equip 70% with basic digital skills. Again, the Digital Education Action Plan looks more at the student side, at the education side, and it wants to equip students with the information literacy competencies, and the data strategy looks at the advanced spectrum of the digital skills and aiming at increasing the number of data professionals. So as part of the skills agenda, you must know there was already this partnership, the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition that Marta mentioned. This is a multi-stakeholder partnership gathering together a wide range of actors from different backgrounds. Now we have reached, as you can see, more than 550 members and 160 pledges. These actions, these pledges are aimed to increase digital skills level for a different set of actors. There are pledges for citizens, education, ICT professionals, and the labor force. We have 25 national coalition, and I really invite all the participants to join the coalition, all the digital innovation hubs that are connected today to join this coalition and to be in the network of actors that are really investing in order to bridge the digital skills gap. So now we have a new kid on the block. We have a new budget which has been approved at the end of last year, and we have a new program which is the Digital Euro program. I'm sure you know all about it by now. And within this program we have a tiny slice, but it's not so tiny, which is about advanced digital skills development. The reason is that if we are going to join forces in order to build the infrastructure and the digital capacities that we need to have a digitized Europe, we cannot do this without having a competent workforce. We need a digitally skilled workforce, and we need to solve the shortages that Europe is currently experiencing of digital experts. So these two investments, one in infrastructure, in AI, cybersecurity, high-performance computing, and in order to encourage the deployment of this technology, needs to be accompanied by investment in advanced digital skills. So what we are going to finance with is almost 600 million over 7 years. We are going to finance advanced education and modules in key capacity areas. These are mainly courses at tertiary level, and they are aimed at really training students in the latest development of the technology. We will see more later how we have in mind to implement these courses. Then we are also financing traineeship in key capacity areas. So we would like students to go and have an experience in a company or a research center where they can learn digital skills on the job. This builds on a pilot project that we have been implemented for the past 3 years that went very well. It's the Digital Opportunity Traineeship. So we thought about increasing it and enlarging it. The short-term trainings, again, these are really courses tailor-made for people who are already in employment or they are job seekers. This is also linked with the SME strategy, which is the communication that the Commission has published in March 2020. And the idea there is to upskill and reskill
Sylvia, I think we have some connection problems.
It's a one-stop shop that we hope will gather information on training and skills analysis. I'm not sure if you're having difficulties in seeing the slide. Digital information of education is a continuation of Connect Europe facility activity. So to go most to zoom in one of in the activities that are really occupying the main bulk of the budget. Institution, training providers working together very closely with SMEs, companies, industry, research center, excellence centers, digital innovation hubs. And they develop, design, and deliver these
Sylvia, the time. And now we are going to go to Roberto Prieto, who is going to present the EIT Digital and also what they are doing in regards to the academy. So, Roberto, please share your screen and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marta, for the introduction. Let me share my screen in a second. Okay, it should be there. Let me put it in presentation mode as well. Okay, well, so thanks again for inviting EIT Digital to this panel about digital skills. Let me briefly introduce you a little bit on what we are doing in the education area of EIT Digital. I want to start mentioning that, well, one thing is about how or what to do in terms of what kind of education should we provide to the learners and to the people to provide them with digital skills. And on that area, there are already many known topics in which we might provide education, and others that are unknown. And there are many reports, analyses. Even, for example, we are working on an artificial intelligence-based engine in order to identify those possible future skills in which we should provide education. And that is there. And another thing is how to provide this education, because, it's difficult maybe to identify and to foresee which areas are the most interesting ones in which we should invest or we should dedicate resources for providing education. But also, what you see here in this slide from one recent report from the World Economic Forum, that you see that new roles that will spring up in 2022, 133 million. So it's crazy to see these numbers. But again, mentioning or going back to how to provide this education is where I would like to introduce a little bit of what we are doing at EIT Digital. I will not explain what is EIT, because I assume that most of you know what is the European Institute of Technology and what are kicks below that are focused on different topics. EIT Digital obviously is focused on digital technologies. And each of these kicks or the innovation, the European Institute of Technology kits are providing innovation and education. It is a unique aspect of this instrument from the Commission, because it's mostly funded by the Commission, because we put together innovation and education. Most of the different kits have these 4 different schools: a master school, doctoral school, professional school, and summer schools. There are slight differences among us, but most of us have these different schools. I'm going just to mention the master school and the professional school, but in all them we have these 4 ingredients that you see at the slide. We try to connect knowledge. I always like to mention this connection of knowledge. That means putting together the knowledge, whatever it is, that might be at the university's research institution, but there is a lot of knowledge also at the industrial side, not just a small industry, but also large industry. So connecting all this knowledge is something that we are doing. We provide mobility to the students as well, in order to be able to connect them with other people, with other students, because we think that this is a key element in the education for providing digital skills to the students. We try to base all our education on real challenges. So we bring challenges, business cases, use cases from our industrial partners to the education side. In that way, the students might solve real challenges coming from the industrial side. We also combine the blended education, blended in terms of 2 things. One in online plus physical. Now online is obviously much more prominent because of the pandemic, but we combine them both commonly. And blended in terms of integrating I&E education, what we call I&E is innovation and entrepreneurial education, together with the technical aspects. So this is what we call the T-shape that you see there. That is a broad aspect in terms of providing this I&E education. And on top of that, we go deep into the technical aspects. And we apply this to all of our 4 schools. Obviously, for a master school, all our students participate on these elements, but also in the professional school, that is much more based on providing this education to professionals, trying to upskill them or reskilling or upskilling them in the way that we identify that it's needed. If you have some time, I recommend you to go to our website and to look at this example. I will not open the video now, but this is a nice video from this student. This is one of the latest videos we have uploaded there. There are many others, but it's very good to listen to one of our students talking about the kind of education I am mentioning. and to learn a little bit more from her in this case about what was her experience in the EIT Digital Master School in particular. It's easy to find. You have there the link, but also you go to the EIT Digital website and you go to the latest news, you will see this news there. And just to finish, I would like to comment a little bit on what we think that we should apply in the next times for education. It's very well known, people talking about open innovation, and I think that is already implemented at many institutions, and also even at the industrial side, sharing innovations that helps everyone to shorten times and to have much more advanced results in terms of innovations. But what we think is we should apply the same to education. It's known, these kind of things that you see here in that slide, that open education might mean to provide the students with a possibility of more flexibility on selecting different paths, on putting together the topics they want in order to create their own curricula. But in addition to all that, what I mentioned before, I think is a key element here as well. When I talk about open education, I like to talk about this connection of knowledge, opening what everyone can, the knowledge that everyone has at their own side. So putting together the knowledge at the universities with the knowledge at the industrial side, with the knowledge at the small and medium enterprises, that is a key element in order to progress on the education and providing education on digital skills as well. And this is what we are trying to implement and to apply in our education programs in EIT Digital in particular. And what we think is that this is something that we should implement very soon in order to have much more advanced results at the education side and the digital skills gap that we have identified before. And I think I am done with my 8 minutes. So this was my last slide. So I want to thank you all for listening. And that's from my side. Thanks a lot.
That was perfect timing. So thank you so much for being on time, Roberto. And then we are going to the last presentation. So we are going to hear now the insights of the SMEs and the help that the digital innovation hubs how they can help them from Bernhard Schweitzer from SAP. So the floor is yours, and you can start sharing the screen.
Great, thanks, Marta. It's a pleasure being here and sharing SAP's perspective on digital skills with SMEs. And before I start talking very deep about the skill set, let me talk about the stages of using digital technologies that we do see in our customer base. And that, of course, is very, very closely tied to the what and why. And understanding the why should I use digital technologies and what digital technologies should I use depending on the stage I'm in is a very, very crucial skill for business success of our customers. If I take you through that journey of the various stages of digital skills, then at the very beginning, it's what I would refer to phase 1, stage 1, the digital core. You really have to get your enterprise in order. You have to automate standard processes to the extreme. Now, you can ask, how does that relate to the topics of the EDIs? AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning is a very, very crucial skill. Now, think about a company that can automatically process invoices. Think about a company that can automatically process incoming tickets. Basically, take the data that you get from your customers in a written format, in any kind of format, and bring it into a structured business process. The next discipline is, if you master that digital core, think about how can I enrich my product in the what and how section with information. How can I provide meaningful digital services to my customers? Giving you an example here, if you manufacture hardware like a heating or purification equipment, if through the Internet of Things You send sensor information to a business backbone. You use artificial intelligence to monitor the sensor information, retrieve root causes of failures, and automatically send a service technician to your customers. And last but not least, if you take information and sell information as a good. And I've been working very recently with a customer of ours that collects information from renewable energy sources, wind parks, solar farms, and basically sells that data to institutional investors in order to give them the trust that their investment also gives them a good return back. So you have to have the imagination of what you can do with digital technologies, how AI can help you. And if you look more into the studies that we see, it's also that skill that many SMEs lack. So it's the lack of knowledge that digital technologies, what they can bring to me as a business benefit. So that's the what and why. And then it's about the how, which is the kind of core digital skills we've been talking here. If you talk about the why and what, then there are also some very nice tools which I do believe the EDIs can bring to the community. It's design thinking. So really take that approach of desirability, feasibility, and viability to assess the business options, to define the business cases together with the SMEs, but also to share success stories with them, show how others in their industry or in adjacent industries have been successful, give them real-life use cases. Start with a problem in a very diverse environment with diverse participants. Try to get to the root cause of the problem and then open the solution space and really define brand new solutions. So that's design thinking. And another approach, which I think is very relevant and where we need to teach people, which is thinking backwards. So start thinking at the end of the problem. Start thinking, how does my customer use a solution? Start thinking, how do I make it easy? Start really writing the press release, writing the system documentation, and then really do the engineering part. So that's kind of frame the why and what. And I do believe the hubs can play a very critical role to educate, especially the SMEs, on the why and the what. So why should I use digital technologies? Why should I invest in high performance computing? Why should I invest in artificial intelligence? And then, of course, what's in it for me? And that needs to be complemented by the how. In order to really judge the why and what, you as a hub need to have a very deep understanding, and you need to bring that very deep understanding also to your constituents, to your SMEs in your community. And looking at the means that we use as a company when educating our constituents, our customers, but also academic partners, we use massive open online courses. And I think that nicely relates to what Roberto has just shared prior to that. It's also an open education format. So we have OpenSAP. It's an online platform. It's free. You can go there, and the link is in the presentation, and you can learn all kinds of skills. We have, of course, courses for our own solutions, but we also do have courses on design thinking, on innovation, general talks, and the term massive really means massive. So we have trainings that are done by about 4,000 up to 10,000 people. We do that in a live environment, but we also record it and we broadcast it and give it to the people. The second is we have the Learning Hub, which is also an online format which allows you to consume learning content as you go. And last but not least, we do believe that hands-on formats really foster the engagement with the community. So hackathons, try before you buy, also a theme for the hubs to really create a test bed, let people come in, work with them, do code jams, and really give them a feel for the technology. And then follow up with digital content and let them network as a community with tools like GitHub. In ending, I would like to offer you that we can help you. We can help you to connect with the right partner for the digital core. We have in Europe over 1,000 partners that can work with you locally in your industry and bring you that knowledge of the digital core, basically the nuts and bolts of any business, to your hub. Secondly, feel free to use the content that we do have available and link it and leverage it and use it. Use our tooling and use our content. It's free, and I believe it brings you many benefits in establishing an interesting education portfolio for your hub. And last but not least, we are more than happy to share with you our experiences with the various hand-on formats. So how do you build a vibrant community? How do you run a hackathon? Which kind of tutorials can help people master the challenge? So we believe first have an online education, but then get your hands really dirty, get into the code, get into the technology. And the hubs, I do believe, should offer the test beds, should offer the tutorials to really create that vibrant community. Let's get connected. I'm very happy to be here, and it's a great community, the EDIs. Reach out to me either via mail or via LinkedIn. If you have any particular questions, we really would like to get engaged with you and help you to make Europe prosper, to educate the people, to make SMEs understand why should I use the digital technologies, what can I achieve with it, and of course also the hard skills, the how. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Also, all the speakers to keep on time. We have a selection of questions that the audience has been asking, so I will go over some of them. The first one would be, what about the informal learning? There are hundreds of NGOs working on education and capacity building in digital tech. So I think, Silvia, it would be a good question for you. Maybe you can explain a little bit about the pledge of the different initiatives and because we couldn't hear very well your presentation. There were some connection problems, and the audience told us maybe you can share a little bit about this.
It seems that we have no sound.
Yeah, I think the quality of the connections is not good. I could hear you, but apparently in the live room there's some difficulties. But anyways, maybe write in the chat exactly the links so that people can see them. Exactly. Some of the people were asking about the presentation, if it can be downloaded. So I think all speakers, maybe you can share some of the links in the chat. That would be helpful for the audience, and probably the video will be put online. So maybe Roberto, I have a question for you. So how do you in the EIT Digital in the academy categorize the different offers you have in regards to the skills, like for the stakeholders they are involved? Because Simone Aldo is asking about the DICCOM framework, the 2.1 that the European Commission published and has been updating over the last years. How does this framework apply also to the EIT Digital Academy?
Well, actually, we classify the education in different schools, as I mentioned before, and if for each one globally, what we have is 5 focus areas for everything, not just for education. So we have one in digital tech, another one in industry, another one in fintech, so in financial industry, and another one in cities, and the last one in health. So we put everything we have under one of these different focus areas. If we go to education, it's the same. We have different programs in our master school classified under each of these 5 areas. And if we go to the professional school, that is where we might concentrate or centralize much more on this environment we are talking to today. We do the same. We try to balance among these 5 areas, and we are using this strategy for our strategic agenda and also for all the activities under our education schools as well. And in addition to that, what we do is to try to have an agile professional school. That means that we would like to work in the way that we call customer-driven. That means that once we received a specific demand or request from one industrial partner or an enough number of students that are requesting something, we create that specific education through our partners. So since we have research institutions, we have universities, and we have industrial partners, we put all them together working on the creation of this portfolio in order to provide education on the digital skills that in which we receive a specific demand.
We also have some questions for the audience, so we have prepared some polls. So I'm going to launch some of them because I know in the audience we have a lot of experts that can participate also in the debate. And I will ask now Bernhard, for example, what do you think is the main obstacles to upskilling workers or citizens in digital skills? We have 3 options here, but you can let us know about your opinion. The cost, the time, or the offer of training, that it's not enough. So now the audience, if you want, you can answer the poll question. And Bernhard, if you can tell us a little bit about your insights, what do you think?
I think it's a mixture, especially when we work with SMEs. People mainly claim we don't have time. We have so much on our plate, so we need to do the needed stuff. So they always prioritize training second, which I think is critical, because to be in business long term, to be successful long term, you really have to step outside your comfort zone. You have to step outside your routines and really learn something new. So I think time for many of the SMEs is most critical. I think cost probably not is so much a critical issue for me, because there are so many courses which are free of charge. And if you then practice yourself, if you go to a hackathon, if you run the tutorials, if you go to free trials, any industry players offering those kind of free trials, you can educate yourself very well. But really taking the time during your work and stepping back and prioritizing training and learning over other tasks, that is what we see lacking with SMEs.
Okay, thank you. We have a question. I think this one is for Roberto. How can an EDI work together with an EIT school by funding SMEs to attend school? I think it's a difficult one.
Well, it's not a difficult question. Maybe it is a difficult for implementing, but not really, because that's exactly the approach we are following, as I mentioned before. So we are participating in the digital hubs program, of course, as EIT Digital as well. And what we are creating is this kind of hubs at our co-location centers. We have co-location centers at 9 different locations, 9 different countries, all across Europe. And at each of these CLCs, as we call them, co-location centers, what we put together is this innovation plus education. And of course, there we have startups even working in the CLCs or connections to our CLCs. We have large corporations. We have the research. So we create a kind of ecosystem around of each of these CLCs to be able to create what I mentioned before, this connection through the ecosystem. So again, we are we are participating in the program as well as EIT Digital, and on top of that, we are creating our kind of hubs, on innovation hubs as EIT Digital as well. So this is exactly what we want to do. So opportunities for SMEs, many. I mean, we are open, and this is one of the mandatory things we receive from EIT. We need to be open. This is not a club for just our partners. The partners is open to everyone, so everyone can apply, can join us, and can participate on the education and in the innovation, or at both through us. So it's open for everyone. If you want to know more on this, you might connect to each of our CLCs, the one that is closer to your area, and call to we have a node director at each one that might provide with specific information on how to participate and to be part of this ecosystem as well.
Okay, and I'm going to put another poll because I've seen they are getting quite popular, and at the same time address the speakers with one question. If you think about the offer and demand of digital talent, what is more important in your countries? The reskilling of the citizens or the upskilling of the workers? So, for example, in Barcelona, we have a program that actually addresses this because the city hall detected that there was one of the gaps that we were talking about the offer and demand. So what's happening in your countries? Maybe, Roberto, you can let us know the perspective from Spain, and Bernhard from Germany, and Silvia, if you want, you can complement with the European one. Although I think, Silvia, there's a problem with the audio. Somehow they didn't hear you well. So maybe Bernhard, you can start with the German perspective.
Yeah, let me give you the German and let me give you the business perspective. Of course, for enterprises, it's most crucial to really have upskilled workers that are digital literate. Now, as a society, of course, we need to be curious and we need to be open-minded. And if I look into Germany, people rather ask, why will it fail, than what benefit can it bring to us as a society? And in order to get acceptance for the new technology, such as machine learning, artificial intelligence, we also need to reskill our citizens, the people that really need to accept the technologies. So I think it's crucially important for business. The workers are more important for the acceptance of technology. And finally, also for the products, reskilling the citizens is equally important.
Maybe, Roberto, you can complement?
Well, you are based in Spain as well, so you might also complement. But what I see in Spain is that if I look at the government, I don't see many programs fostering this. But however, at least our experience working with the industrial partners is that there are many of them that are very interested on this, on receiving education for their staff, and for skilling or upskilling their own people. Actually, we are working on the professional school with a couple of Spanish partners. One of them, for example, is very active on one program that we have on cybersecurity, provided their own experience for this, as I mentioned before, for this creation of courses we are doing. But again, I don't see many, maybe you have another example, but I don't see many programs or even any program from the government to foster this initiative.
Exactly. In our case, it's more the city hall. So I know that under the Next Generation EU funds, Spain has been recommended to upskill and the citizens mainly on digital skills because we were in the statistics one of the lower ones. Another question is how this assessment is done because research has been proved that qualitative approach to the evaluation of digital skills is also necessary. But yeah, this is another topic. And in regards to the gaps that should be primarily addressed, I'm going to launch another poll. This one is very interesting because, as you know, in Horizon Europe, gender is going to be very, very important. And for the audience, which of these gaps should be the first one that you would address? The gender gap to promote female digital talent, the age gap to promote technological vocations among youth and adults, or the offer and demand gap, train according to market needs. So let's see what the audience says. In the meantime, maybe Silvia, we can try to hear you again. Apparently, the audience didn't hear your voice. I don't know. There's some technical problem with the live session because I could hear you. So maybe you can let us know about the reskilling, upskilling, and also about the gap. What do you think?
Can you hear me now? I just the phone. Is it better?
Yes.
I can hear you, yeah.
Can you see what the people are saying in the chat?
Yeah,
okay.
I will.
It seems it works. So yes, an important part of the work of the Commission now is focused on the upskilling and reskilling. The estimates vary according to the source that we are looking at, but there is an important work which is done. This is the main focus of the skills agenda. Also, if you want, one action of the Digital Euro program, as I said, will be focused on upskilling and reskilling. This is the short-term training courses, which we hope they will be really tailor-made to the needs of people already in employment or job seekers. The idea there is also to develop and devise courses which we called crash courses in the SME strategy, meeting the needs of people that are working in an SME and they need to upskill in a certain technology following the digitization path that the SMEs has taken. These will be calls that we will issue also with the budget of the Digital Euro program. It will be later during this year, and we really hope that also here we see the cooperation between different stakeholders. Once again, training providers, digital innovation hubs are most welcome to apply together to design and deliver these opportunities. Now it's me not hearing you.
Marta, we don't hear you. So I'm afraid, Marta, we don't hear you at all here. Okay, so okay, I'm going to close the session. I'm just backing up here for Marta Portales. Thank you very much to everyone. I think it's been a very successful session. We've had a very interesting bunch of questions, and we'll be looking again at your questions and the polls that have been made. If you want, I can quickly go through the poll. Is that a good idea? Marta, I can see you can nod if that's a good idea. Yes. Okay, so I'll just go through the poll. The first question is, what is the main obstacle to upskilling workers or citizen digital skills? And so that seems to be the biggest votes with 50% is the time, followed by the offer of the training. For the second question, if you think about the offer and demand of digital talent, what is more important in your countries? It comes out as the upskilling of the workers, although a third of people also put citizens. I also kind of agree with the comment that you need to do both. What gaps should be primarily addressed? The biggest votes came on the offer and demand gap, so meeting the needs of the market. And what do we have? Two more questions. What is the most important reason for not upskilling workers or citizens in digital skills? And everybody put the cost, but there are only 2 votes. And then the final question, which only has 4 votes. What is the biggest challenge SMEs face when adopting new technologies? And here it is, the lack of skills and knowledge, followed by the support of the ecosystem and the cost and financing. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention. Thank you to all the speakers, to all the participants, and most of all, thank you to our moderator, Marta Portales. Goodbye. Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.